Welcome back to the Outbounds podcast. My name is Gavin Williams alongside
Charlie Caleri.
Wow, that feels amazing to say.
Feels great.
Wow, what a summer. We got everything ready for season 2, ladies and gentlemen. Get strapped up. Wait, speaking about summer, Charles, how was it?
Oh, my summer was great, working a little bit, making that money. Went up to Utica to go see Gavin and the boys.
Absolutely.
That was a great weekend we had in, was it early July?
Yeah, early July, Boilermaker weekend.
Right in the middle of summer.
Boilermaker weekend, if you're from Utica or you've ever heard of it, it's a great race. Everybody has a great time. Food and beverages after.
It was fun. It was for sure fun. I mean, we put in some work that weekend planning season 2.
Yep.
And now it's here. So
It's officially here. Everybody, I hope you're as excited as I am right now.
we're ready to roll. I mean, we got some really good things, behind the scenes that are potentially going to come to light in season 2, if not season 3 for sure. But I think season 2 is going to be a really good step for the podcast.
Absolutely. Speaking about the podcast, I mean, we've only done Major League Sports. I think we're going to flip the script today.
Yep.
So we're bringing it back to the younger guys in college football.
College football, the guys that are somehow our age, but they look like they're about 10 years older than us. I'm excited for college football. I think it's going to be a really, really good season this year. It's probably the most open season that we've had in a while.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really is.
there's a few powerhouse teams like always, but a few of the top teams don't have their quarterbacks from last year.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of the guys moved on, especially with the top 5 draft picks of the NFL. I mean, you have Bryce Young.
Yep.
You have C.J. Stroud, and you have Anthony Richardson all gone from their
Stetson
schools.
Bennett left, Max Duggan left, all those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, those were guys that, led their team to the national championship, including those other 3 guys that won the first round. Guys like Will Levis, too.
Yeah.
Like, how will Kentucky do this year in the SEC? That's a tough conference to be in overall, but especially when you don't have a star quarterback. So,
Yeah, especially I can only really name one significant guy. Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, which I will be mentioning his name a lot in this
yep.
episode, so I'll let that come to life when it has to. But we're going to start this off with some predictions on all the conferences and the Power 5, and we'll also mention some stuff about the Group 5 as well.
And let's start in the group of 5,
Yeah.
before we get into the Power 5. So, we're going to do this, so we're going to just name the top 5 teams in every conference, what we think, how we think they're going to do, but based on what we think right now,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, season hasn't happened yet. A lot can change, so with all the prediction episodes that we do, we're probably going to be wrong, but we kind of want to be wrong because we want to see underdogs take over because the Out of Bounds podcast is all about the underdogs.
Exactly. Got to root for those guys.
Yep.
So I think this is an obvious pick. I think the best team that's coming out of the Group of 5 is definitely Tulane.
Green Wave.
They beat USC in that bowl game.
Yep.
They had a lot to prove, and they proved it. I think they're going to be some dogs. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do. And, I mean, that offense putting up 46 points on the USC defense, I mean, that was something special.
I mean, yeah, and their jerseys are incredibly clean, too.
The color.
I mean, that
colorway.
light blue and green.
I'm going
incredible.
crazy for it.
Yeah, I mean, but other than that, I mean, the Green Wave, they're just a great team, and they're already ranked right now. I mean, who's to say they can't get into the top 12 by the end of the season? And if this was, when they expanded the 12-team playoff, they would definitely be in right now. I mean, they're not by far, but they're decent amount ahead of all the other Group of 5 teams right now.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that 12 team coming in 2026, I believe.
Yes, around there.
Or 24. One of the two. But
It's around there.
Yeah.
It's coming soon.
That's going to be really exciting
Yeah.
when it does come out. So, in my next spot, I have SMU.
I also have SMU.
There's some dogs on
They
that
are
team.
some dogs. I mean, just like Tulane, I mean, they're probably going to run through the Group of 5 teams as well. But, I mean, who's to say that they can't drop back either? I mean, the Group of 5 is pretty unpredictable. You never know who's going to step up. But it is weird because a lot of the best Group of 5 teams are now in Power 5 conferences.
Yeah, they're moving around. Especially as like UCF.
UCF, Cincinnati, all those
Yep.
teams. I mean, they're all gone. So it's interesting.
I think that's what you're going to see throughout the years is these Group 5. The Group 5, they're going to move to conferences like Pac-12 because Pac-12's losing their teams. Big
Yeah.
12's losing their teams.
Yeah. I think
So-
soon we're going to see a Power 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Pac-12 will last.
We'll get into the
Yeah, we'll get
Pac-12
into
in a little
that.
bit. But my third team, I have UTSA, the Roadrunners. They're always at the top of the group of 5 rankings, and who's to say that they can't do it again this year?
Yeah.
So,
In my third slot, I have Troy.
Yeah, the Trojans.
I always feel like they always get paired up in the first game. They always get slapped on, but
they always play Bama or Auburn first
exactly.
game. I mean,
so it's like once they get back to their competition, that's where they perform.
Yep.
And that's where they're always good.
I mean, the Sun Belt this year, I mean, they should be looking good in the Sun Belt down there this year.
Absolutely.
My 4th spot, I have Boise State.
I love Boise
I mean,
State.
They're always there.
The blue turf,
I mean, the blue
man.
turf, I mean, it's iconic. They're probably the most iconic group of 5 team. I mean, they're one of the most iconic teams in college football, especially with, what they did in the Fiesta Bowl that one year, with the Statue of Liberty play, all that. I think they're going to be the 4th best team in group of 5 this year.
I could see that, but I'm switching it up to another different type of blue turf. We're going to teal turf.
Teal turf.
We're going to Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers, right near Myrtle Beach.
They're
in
tough.
South Carolina.
They're tough.
I love that team.
I mean, I'll say this about the group of 5. They definitely have better jerseys than the Power 5 overall.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little simple thing there, but I mean, they can do a little bit more. It's just like minor league baseball and Major League Baseball. You can do a little bit more in minor league because not as many people are seeing you.
Yeah.
So,
especially with Coastal Carolina, a couple of years ago, they were undefeated until they lost to Liberty.
yeah. That Liberty team was nice though. Is that when they had Malik Willis, right?
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. They were nice.
I think Coastal Carolina is going to come back. And my last team, who's finishing 5th, who just joined Division I last year, FBS, JMU. They're coming back.
JMU.
They're coming back.
Yeah. I mean, they actually, I mean, the transition's always rough, but I mean, that second year, that's when you can really start to make a jump and, make some noise in the group of 5.
Yeah, and people are really high on them finishing top 10, maybe 8. I got them in 5. I think this is like the rebound year. They kind of went through the sticks and stones of what it's like to be on the FBS, not the FCS level.
Yeah.
Because they dominated for so long in the FCS level.
Very true. I mean, they were right up there with North Dakota State, South Dakota State, all those teams. I mean, they were dogs too up there.
Yeah, so
my 5th team is arguably from my favorite group of 5 conference. Probably is my favorite group of 5 conference. The MAC. We're getting some action here. The Toledo Rockets are supposed to be pretty good this year. I mean, I've heard rumblings that, Ohio's going to be pretty solid this year too in the MAC. And I know they're not in the MAC, but my 6th team would have been Western Kentucky. I was talking about maybe putting them in 5, but I give the slight edge to the MAC teams anytime there's a tie. Tie goes to the MAC.
Yeah, you got to give some love to your city.
Yeah, I mean, UB's in the MAC. They're actually supposed to be pretty decent this year. I mean, they have one linebacker, I think, Sean Dolak, I think is his name. I think he's projected to go in the top 2 or 3 rounds.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, who's to say he can't be like Khalil Mack?
Let's just say it's your turn to have a day.
Yeah, Sean Dolak, have a day, have a season.
Have a season. So moving on, we're going to start with the Power 5 conferences, probably with the weakest conference, but obviously it's still Power 5.
Especially after next year.
Yeah, after next year, but this is probably the last good year for the Pac-12. So we're going to go.
The last time we're going to predict Pac-12 football when they're a good conference.
This is true. This is true. So I'm going to go 5-1.
5-1.
So at the 5 slot, I have Colorado. Roll Buffs.
Wow.
I'm rooting for them this season.
Gavin is a big Deion Sanders fan.
Really,
and when he went to
Deion.
Colorado, that's become his 3rd team.
That is my 3rd team.
Yeah, by far.
Might be a little biased, but people are already predicting that they're going to be a 6-win team, get a bowl, a nice little bid going on. But
that'd be awesome first year.
The Deion effect. I mean, obviously, I'm just going to bring this up. I mean, his high school team did great, and then he went to college, went to Jackson State, brought them to their national championship.
Were dogs.
And they lost their national championship, so now he brought his Louis. He's got Louis Vuitton with him.
Yep.
He brought his baggage with him. He's got a son. He's got the number 1 best corner in the whole USA. And
you think?
He's a switch guy, too. He can play receiver, too.
Yeah.
So
like Deion.
So,
I mean, what a better guy to learn from than Primetime himself.
Exactly.
I mean, that's who you model your game after. You're playing corner and wide receiver.
So I got the Buffs at 5. I really think that they're going to make a splash. They might be a 6 to 8 win team, but I'm really high on them.
I have Utah at 5. I definitely think that they can make a run. I mean, they're always a solid team, and that's a tough place to play. I mean, we see it in the NBA. The Utah Jazz have one of the best crowds, and they're one of the best teams. And I think the fans are definitely a part of that because, Utah, even BYU. I mean, those Utah fans go crazy. So, I mean, Utah this year I think is going to have a decent season, top 5, Pac-12, maybe in that 5 to 8 range, but I think they're going to edge out some of the other teams.
Yeah, especially with, the weather there. It could be crazy.
Yeah,
they're higher up, It's really cool in Utah. But in my 4th slot, I have Oregon State, and I think Oregon State's always really competitive with this group, and I think Oregon State isn't going to be a top 3 team, but I think they're going to be right outside looking in. So I think it's going to be a good maybe 8-win season from Oregon State, maybe 9. I don't see more, but I see Oregon State still having a great year.
I have Washington at 4. I mean, just like Utah, they're usually always at the top of the conference, and I don't think it's going to be any different this year. I think they could even potentially have an outside shot for, playoff contention. Chances that they finish top 10 are pretty decent. I mean, the Pac-12 actually looks pretty decent this year.
It actually does,
It's pretty deep. I mean, they're bringing back a lot of their guys in that conference, like Bo Nix, like Caleb Williams. So, I mean, it's going to be a good year in the Pac-12, I think, and I think Washington's going to finish just outside of the top 3 in the Pac-12.
Yeah. So, I'm actually finishing Washington at 3.
You're putting them at 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason being, I feel like they earned their way to get the ranking that they deserved.
Okay.
From last season. They have a lot of returning guys. They really fought Oregon last year.
They did, yeah.
And that was a great game.
That was a great game.
That game kind of made me influenced to put them at 3, I think.
I have Oregon at 3, just speaking of Oregon. I mean, once again, always at the top of their conference.
Yeah.
Always at the top of their conference. I mean, that is a tough place to play. Another tough place to play is their rivals, Oregon State.
You have them at 2.
I have them at 2.
Wow.
I mean, I think they're bound for a really great year. And, I mean, if it wasn't for who we both have at number 1, who's your number 2?
My number 2 is Oregon, actually. And Bo Nix is the reason why Oregon is at my number 2 because I'm really high on Bo Nix. I feel bad about what happened at Auburn. He turned it around in Oregon last year, and he's going to turn it around even more, possibly making them a top 8 team in the whole country.
I am a huge Bo Nix fan.
Same here.
I mean, for whatever reason, quarterbacks like Bo Nix, like Davis Mills, those guys, those are my guys. I mean, those underrated pocket passing quarterbacks, they don't do much, but they win football games.
They win football games.
I know Davis Mills struggled with the Texans, but Bo Nix wins football games. You can't deny that. I mean, he's been pretty good at Auburn. He's been pretty good at Oregon. He just can't get over the hump.
Yep.
He can't get over the hump. He can't get that one win to solidify himself as one of the top quarterbacks in the country.
Yep.
But I think this is the year that he really makes a mark for himself.
I agree.
And number 1,
the clear number 1 is USC.
USC. I mean,
not a lot to talk about. Caleb Williams, he can go back to back.
They're running it back.
Yeah, I think I'll get into it later, but I think they're going to be a college football playoff team.
Ooh, well, sneak peek there.
Little sneak peek.
Okay.
On.
Okay.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
So the next conference is the Big 12, which is getting less and less competitive every year, I think.
It's slowly fading out. I mean, only because they're adding those new teams.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually a good change for the Big 12. I think they're getting a new identity. I know they have a lot of their classic teams in there, but I think it'll elevate the play a little bit because it'll make those teams say, hey, what are we doing bringing these other teams in? And then they'll try to recruit more. I mean, the Big 12 is probably the next conference to go.
Yeah, after
the Pac-12. Yeah. But I hope the Big 12 stays around because that's an iconic conference, obviously.
It really is.
So,
I mean, they have the Red River Showdown in there.
Yeah, which we'll get to.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Because that's a controversial take that we have in here.
Very controversial.
Number 5, I have Kansas. I'm actually a big Kansas football fan. Not a big Kansas football fan, but I enjoy watching Kansas football. I don't like their basketball team, but I do think their fans get behind their football team pretty well. And for them being bad for so long, I'm glad that they can have a good team because it reminds me of the Bills and all my other favorite teams. So, I group them in. They're like family to us.
Yeah, no. Kansas is a basketball school. Get them out of the top 5. I have Texas Tech at the top and the number 5 slot, and I don't even see Kansas sniffing the 7 spot.
Wow.
I'm not a Kansas guy. I hate Kansas football. They think they're football. They're a basketball school. Yeah,
They
Kansas. I'm calling you out right now, Kansas.
They're a
You're
basketball
listening.
school.
If anybody from Kansas right now, I'm calling you out, all right? And You're a basketball school. Stay a basketball school. Stay away from football. It's not your field.
I'm actually really excited for college basketball now that you're
I am
talking
too.
about it, but we're into football season right now.
I'm more excited for college football season. This weekend, baby.
This weekend's gonna be so good. I have Texas Tech at 4. Same thing. I think they're gonna have a really good year. Just better than Kansas though. Just better.
I have Kansas State at 4. They had a great season
Really?
last year. They lost that bowl game, and I think that's going to flip them around. Deuce Vaughn's gone.
Deuce Vaughn, yeah.
I think
know.
they're finishing 4, though, because they're still going to be good, but they're not going to be the top 3 in their conference, in my opinion.
I mean, I have Oklahoma at 3.
Okay.
And I mean, just like before. I mean, they're always top of the conference. I mean, they're a great college football team.
Oh, yeah.
Great structure that they have. They never have a down year. I mean, the last 10 years, they've always been up there in the rankings. I mean, who's to say that they can't make a run at the playoff this
That's
year
true.
even? I mean, it's a pretty open field. So, I mean, I think any of these next 2 teams after them that are named in the Big 12 can make it too.
Yeah, my number 3 is TCU, and they had a great season last year. They have some key departures like Max Duggan and Quentin Johnson,
Yep.
the 1-2 punch of that offense. But they still have a lot of their returners on the defensive side and on the offensive side, except for the number 1 guys being the QB and wide receiver. But TCU is still TCU. They're still the Horned Frogs, and they're still going to roll. And then moving on from 3 from TCU, I'm going to number 2. And this is where I'm putting Oklahoma. I think this is their rebound year. They had a horrible year last year for being an Oklahoma Sooner.
Yeah, I mean, that had to be rough as a fan.
Yeah.
I mean,
And now they're going to bounce
they're
back.
going to bounce back.
This is their second year under their head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I'm going to say is he's going to figure out what to do with that offense more. And they're going to bounce back. They're going to be the second best team in that conference.
I have Texas at number 2. I think Quinn Ewers is going to have a really good season. I mean, I'm not a big Quinn Ewers fan, but I can't deny that he's a great quarterback in college. So, I mean, and, they look to be making a run. Texas could be back. I mean, Arch Manning there, who's to say he can't be the next guy for them? He could be playing for the next 3 years after this season.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, they could be set for a few years looking at a few college football playoff runs in their future.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why I have Texas at 1.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Ewers is going to be a dog this season. He saw Arch Manning come in, and he took it personal, and he earned his spot.
he's going to use that as fuel.
He's going to use his fuel.
Yeah.
And I really do think Arch Manning will get his shot. Maybe not this year, but hey, if Ewers goes down, Manning, you're up, bro.
I think he's going to get in a few games. I mean, I definitely think they're going to blow some teams out.
Yeah, so not
early
some
season.
crunch time, but some garbage time.
Yeah, I mean, never want a guy to get hurt, but if Quinn Ewers does go down, I mean, Arch Manning could be
That guy to step up.
he could just step up and they could just be playing at the same level they were before.
Exactly.
I have Kansas State at 1. I think they're going to run it back. And I think they could possibly make the playoff too. I think, honestly, even though I have Texas ranked at 2, I think Texas has a better chance to make the playoff than Kansas State. But I do think that Kansas State's going to win the conference.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
So shifting from the Big 12 to the ACC, I'm going to start at my number 5.
Your favorite conference?
Depends.
Depends
on the day.
But your favorite team right here.
Yeah, I'm putting my favorite team right at number 5. I do think it's a bowl year again, as long as Schrader can throw the ball. Unlike last year when he played good teams, I got Syracuse at number 5. Roll Orange.
I don't even have them top 10 maybe. I don't think they're going to make a bowl game. I think they're going to finish 5-7.
Nope.
And they're just going to miss out on the bowl game. I have NC State at 5.
It's a good pick. They lost their quarterback, though.
They did lose their quarterback, but they're bringing back a lot of their other guys. So, I mean, I feel like this could be a year where they sneak into that top 5. I mean, it's kind of open after the top 4, honestly.
I think it is.
So, I mean, we should get into the top 4 because these are the teams that people want to talk about.
So, at my 4 slot, the Hurricanes of Miami.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, my God. What?
I'm really high on Miami, actually. I think Miami's going to have a great season. I think the U will shine.
You think the U is back?
I think the U's back.
Wow.
Not Ed Reed, Sean Taylor back, but I think they're back.
Somewhat back.
Somewhat.
Texas
like halfway back.
Texas back.
Texas back.
I have Pitt at 4.
Boo.
I mean, I know I don't love Pitt, but the guy I went to high school with is on the Pitt team now, so I'm going to be watching that team a lot. Hopefully he plays this year. That'd be pretty cool. So
Speaking about Pitt, Syracuse will always find a way to lose to Pitt. They always find a way to play down, and they always find a way to lose. So that is why I'm not a Pitt fan.
Pitt is like always at the top of they're kind of like Utah. They're always at the top of the conference. I don't want to say it's a tough place to play because it's not really, but like they play in the Steelers Stadium. That's kind of cool. So they fill it out. At number 3, I have North Carolina.
Same here.
I mean,
that's the second best quarterback people think in college football right now. I completely disagree. I think Drake May is completely overrated. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, completely.
I think he's top 5.
I mean, he's top 5, but I don't think he's the second best in the whole nation.
Okay.
People are putting him right behind Caleb Williams, and I think that's unbelievable.
I think right now, I think he's second. I think once people see, especially who I have in the Heisman conversation, then they'll change their minds maybe.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Switching to Carolina's going from 3 to 2, I have Clemson finishing second. Okay. And the reason is I think Dabo Swinney, I mean, he lost some guys. He brought a lot of them back. I'm worried about that quarterback room, though, because DJ left to go to Oregon State, and that's why I think Oregon State, like going back, it will finish top 5.
That's why I have them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the quarterback situation in Clemson, even though I saw him play against Syracuse and finish the game and beat Syracuse when they were a top 15 team last year. I still think Clemson is going to deal with hurting from having a top 5 recruit. They're not going to have that Trevor Lawrence guy. Yeah. They're not going to have a Deshaun Watson. No. They don't have a clear name that is in the quarterback conversation, so I'm finishing them too.
I'm just going to say my 2 and 1 because we have the same teams. Yeah. I have Florida State at 2. I have Clemson at 1. The only reason is because when they play each other, which is going to be a phenomenal must-watch game, it's in Clemson.
It's in Death Valley?
It's in Death Valley.
Wow.
So that's the only reason. I mean, that's a really tough place to play.
I have Florida State 1.
Is that why you think they're going to be number 1? You think they're going to go into Clemson and win?
They're going to go into Death Valley.
So that's the game
and they're going to see Dabo running down the hill. And they're
Dabo might trip.
He might trip. I think he's going to trip and he's going to fall. And I think the Florida State players, they're going to run over, and they're going to stomp on his face, and they're going to stomp on their team, stomp on their grass, and they're going to win that football game.
Wow.
Yep. Bold take.
I mean, I disagree.
You heard it here first.
But, I mean, that's going to be a great game when it happens.
Yeah,
so
speaking of, too, Clemson also lost the Orange Bowl to a backup quarterback. Just want to point that out.
Yeah.
So that's why I also
They could use that as fuel, though.
They could.
I mean, who knows?
Given backup quarterback for Tennessee was really good, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's...
But still, they still lost to a backup quarterback.
That's true.
Going on to the top 2 conferences, here we go.
The best 2 conferences by far.
This is where the popcorn, this is where Saturday on Fox, you're going to watch the Big Ten football right here.
I am so excited. I am such a Big Ten football fan.
I love the Big Ten.
Every Saturday in the fall, I'll wake up. Some people are still sleeping at noon. I'm up at 10 looking at all the games.
Who could be sleeping at noon when there's college football going on?
Mike Clowen. He's sleeping at noon every Saturday. Shout out to Mike Clowen. We're always waking him up because he always misses the kickoff for the noon games.
Big noon football game.
Big noon football. Getting into it, we're starting at number 5. Mike's roommate's favorite team. Shout out to Ian Kennedy.
Ian Kennedy. How you doing?
The Maryland Terps. They're going to be number 5. I mean, they're running it back to his brother, Talia.
Yeah, Talia.
He's going to be the quarterback this year, running it back from last year. I think they can only go up. They played a really good game against Michigan last year and Ohio State. So, I mean...
Yeah, they were competitive last year.
Who's to say that they can't be top 5 in this conference? Top 4, maybe.
I have them at maybe 6 or 7. I think the 5 slot is very open for this conference
as well. It is. It definitely is. I think 4 through 8 are pretty interchangeable.
Yeah. So this is a number 5 spot where I could see Michigan State sneaking in. I could see Illinois sneaking in, maybe Maryland. But I'm finishing with Illinois.
Okay.
I think that they have a lot of bad blood from last year because they were supposed to be good. They didn't really turn out that good.
No, they did not.
So I think this is their bounce back year. I have that for a lot of my mentalities for these teams is the bounce back mentality. So I think this is Illinois' bounce back year.
I think that's a good take. I would have Illinois at 6 or 7, definitely. I know we mentioned Wisconsin in there too. They're definitely in that range. A team that Wisconsin battles with every year. I have at number 4. I have Iowa at 4. Oof. They're always battling in the Big Ten West. I mean, they're always. Yep. You can't deny that. I mean, they're always battling. They're always just playing for consolation to win that division, then lose to the East.
And everybody's waving to Iowa, man. Everybody's waving.
their defense is still, I mean, one of the best in the country. I mean, they score 6 points a game, but they win more than half their games. Their defense lets up, 6 or less points all the time.
People say tight end university for Iowa too,
Yeah.
but I'm not going Iowa.
No?
Going Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
I'm really high on Wisconsin this year. Those Badgers over there. Shout out Will.
Shout out Will. We miss you, Will.
Miss you, Will. But Wisconsin's coming back. They're gonna have that Badger mentality, man. I'm seeing
It's definitely possible.
I'm seeing some Russell Wilson moments right here.
Wow.
I'm really high on
Jonathan
Wisconsin.
Taylor moments.
JT.
Wow.
Not the real JT though. Jason Tatum. But I think Wisconsin, they're back, and I think they're finishing 4, and I think the top 3.
We have the same top 3. I mean, I think everybody should have this top 3. It's just whatever order you think that
The one
these games are going to finish out.
I think the one is like solidified, but I think 2 and 3 you can switch by debating it. But
I would
think
agree.
This is how it's going to finish.
Our 2 and 3 are same teams, just flipped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have Ohio State at 3. They lost their QB. They still have the best wide receiver in the nation. So that's what's going to maybe get them to be a top 10 team. Marvin Harrison Jr., man, he's going to be great. But they lost C.J. Stroud. They lost Jackson Smith-Njigba. That's 2 really, really big parts of their offense last year. So then I have Penn State at 2.
I have Penn State at 3, Ohio State at 2. I mean, having Marvin Harrison Jr. there, I mean, that's enough. That's enough to win you some games. So, and like I mentioned before with Clemson, FSU, when Penn State plays Ohio State, it's in the shoe. So, I mean, that place is going to be rocking. I mean, I hate Ohio State as much as anybody, but I can't deny that their fans are pretty rowdy over there. So,
I think the Nittany Lions are going to walk in there, same thing as Florida State, and I think those
like
are
a Barkley, like a Saquon Barkley moment right there,
and beat Ohio State in the shoe.
It's definitely possible. I hope Penn State goes in there and does that, but I think that they just have a little bit less experience than Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State was in the playoff last year, so
they almost won.
They were a kick away, a missed field goal away as the clock struck midnight on New Year's from beating the eventual national champions, who crushed my favorite team, who we both have at number 1 in the Big Ten, the Michigan Wolverines.
I hate saying that, by the way. This is what kills me the most because I'm a Michigan State fan. Seeing Michigan being number 1, and I'm even putting them number 1. That's when you know respect's given here. JJ McCarthy, he's gonna be a dog. He was a young kid last year. He's a seasoned vet now.
He is.
When you're in college
He
football
really is.
and you get 1 year to yourself, you're a seasoned vet.
Yep.
And they got slapped by TCU, who got absolutely slapped in the national
They
championship.
get slapped, but I mean, we played pretty bad defense, but that's
They got
besides the point.
slapped. So they're going to take that slap in the face. Without Coach Jim Harbaugh for the first 3 games, I think they're going to play the best games of the season because I think Jim Harbaugh is one of the worst coaches in the country. Even though they finished top 5, I mean, they finished at 3 last year, but I still think Jim Harbaugh should be gone. This might be able to prove at these first 3 games when they're going to put up 80 points against these guys.
All right.
But
All
anyway,
right.
so
I'm not
number 1.
I'm not a big Harbaugh fan. I think most Michigan fans are either all in on Harbaugh because he does a lot for the university. He brings in a lot of people. He actually does. He recruits
Illegally.
a lot. He buys them lunch.
Illegally.
Whatever. I think Michigan's the most complete team in college football. Only because Georgia and Ohio State
Lost guys.
and Alabama all lost their quarterbacks last year. I mean, that's just enough to put Michigan above. I mean, they're bringing back McCarthy. They're bringing back Corum. That's the duo you need.
That also might be what's enough to finish Michigan as the best team in the country by the time college football playoff comes around.
I think so. And, I mean, playing Ohio State at home this year is massive for Michigan.
It's so much better when it's in Michigan.
The
shared locker room tunnel, that's where the movies are made.
I mean, that's what you want. I mean, the only thing that I can see is going into Penn State on that third last week of the year.
Whiteout.
And it's probably going to be the whiteout game. It should be if it's not. Penn State is going to be rocking that night.
We are Penn State.
That's their chant. But I think Michigan's going to go in there, play a really close game. I'm probably going to be ripping my hair out that whole game. But
chewing the fingernails. It's going to get ugly.
I'm excited for the season for Michigan. I think it's going to be a big letdown for me because they're definitely not going to win all these games.
But, I mean, this is the year where it's Michigan. I think this is a do-or-die year for Michigan.
If we don't win this year, we're not going to win.
In 10 years.
Probably.
Maybe
who's to
definitely
say?
5.
But like this is the best opportunity and most complete team we've had compared to the other teams
Probably in 10 years.
in the last few years. I mean, the not last season, but the season before when we had Hutchinson and all those guys, that was, I think, our best team. But this is our most complete team, and I think that's just going to be enough to where I have them. I'll say it right now. I have them finishing number 1 overall after the season.
And I don't think that's a bad take. I think that's a healthy take. But something you have to know about Michigan, when you don't have Shea Patterson, you're going to definitely finish better than what they did.
Don't get me started on Shea Patterson. We're going to move on to the SEC here before I go on a rant about Shea Patterson. But Ole Miss, I have them at number 5 in the SEC.
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, I don't, but I really, really like the Rebels this year. I think they're going to be really good, and I feel like they're finally getting, speaking about jerseys, some great colorways going.
Oh, they're insane. They're insane.
It's going to be a really fun year. I don't have them in my top 5. They're 6 for me, but I really think Ole Miss can surprise me. They might be the 3rd best team in this conference.
They definitely could be. I mean, depending on, obviously, how they play against the other teams, but they could definitely go into some places and make some noise, have some upset games. They're definitely a team that you could look out for this year and be like, yeah, I think they could squeak this one out.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, going into maybe potentially Bama and beating them.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be awesome.
Pretty cool.
My number 5, South Kakalaki, baby.
Wow.
Go Gamecocks. I think Spencer Rattler proving himself in that Tennessee game last year, even though I am one of the biggest Spencer Rattler haters. I hate him.
Same. I agree.
I
They
think
started
he's a
slow
diva.
last year.
Yeah.
Very slow.
But I think that they're going to pick off where they left off, especially with being like that Tennessee game.
Yeah.
And I think South Carolina is going to be top of the conference.
Who's to say they can't make a run at the SEC?
Yeah, maybe like 3.
Maybe 3.
I don't see them
Not the
being-
whole thing,
Yeah, I don't see
but-
them being in the top 3, but maybe 4.
Making a run in the SEC.
Yes.
Yes.
At number 4,
We
a
both-
team that was great from last year.
Yep. We
Tennessee.
both have them. Yeah, we both have them at 4. I mean,
Roll Volunteers, man. I
Rocky
wear my
Top.
I wear my Volunteers orange sometimes.
You do.
My nice
Especially when they're playing Bama.
Oh,
Because we all hate Bama. I mean, everybody hates Bama.
but I mean, come on. Who would ever hate Tennessee? How can you hate them? It's such a likable team,
It is.
and I
They're
mean,
volunteers.
if you tear down your field goal post and it ends up in a river, how can you not love college football? Come on.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, if
You
you're
don't
not
see that
doing
in the
then
NFL.
what? Tennessee, I mean, they're due for a great year.
And their backup quarterback, speaking back on the Clemson game, played
Yep.
a great game, and now he's in charge.
Yep.
They lost Jalen Hyatt, and he was a really good receiver.
Lost Hendon Hooker.
But they still
Yep.
have the rest of the offense.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be good this year. I mean, that's
They're definitely going to be a bowl
Yeah.
team again.
oh, for sure. Yeah.
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 And this is where I get debatable. Number 3,
Now, we have the same top 3,
different order.
different order. At number 3, so all the 3 that we have are LSU, Alabama, and Georgia. Those are the top 3 that we
Yep.
have right now. At number 3, I have Alabama. Number 2, I have LSU, and number 1, I have Georgia.
I do not have that. I have number 3, Georgia. This
Okay.
is where their 2-year stint was cute and pretty, but it's not going to last.
Okay.
2, I have LSU. 1, Nick Saban slapping everybody in the
You think
face.
he's back?
Bama's back, slapping everybody in the face. And this is where I'm going to say Alabama regains their throne. They're finishing as the best team in college football,
Wow.
number 1.
I mean, that's a bold take for sure. I think this is a year where, I mean, I could definitely see that, but I think this is a year where Alabama kind of takes a step back like last year. I think they're going to take these 2 years, really kind of retool the program, I guess, and then next year really go for it. Like, be back to that powerhouse. If they lose a game, you're shocked. I mean,
Yeah.
those are the Alabama teams that we all we don't necessarily miss, but we like watching those teams because it's fun when they lose.
Yeah.
Because they don't usually lose that often. Now that's kind of switching to Georgia,
Yeah.
who I have at 1. I have LSU at 2.
I think we both have LSU at 2.
Yeah.
I'm really high on Jaden Daniels. I really like Brian Kelly, too. I mean, I think he had the swagger last year. He got his feet wet. He had some great games with beating Alabama, reaching it to the SEC championship.
Mhm.
And now he's going to take that, and he's going to flip it into finishing 2. Wouldn't be surprised if they finish 1 either. I'm really, really excited for that Tigers. Go Tigers!
I mean, we could be looking at the end of the season, them potentially being the number 1 team in the country. That's not a long shot to say. It's really not. It's really,
No.
especially if they beat Georgia and Alabama. That's not a long shot to say. But I think for sure they could definitely be a playoff team. They could definitely sneak in there at the 3 or 4 spot.
Yeah, we'll get into that too because a sneak peek, I might have them in my playoff.
I have Georgia at 1. I mean, like Gavin said, they lost Stetson Bennett, but I think that
He's
they're
also
gonna.
26 years old.
He is, but I think they're gonna kind of rebound from last year. I mean, they're coming off a national championship.
Rebound.
Yeah.
Let's
When
take
you
a
lose
step
some
back.
of your guys, you have to rebound.
No, let's take a step back. They won the national
They
championship.
did win the national
We're
championship.
not talking about rebounding. We're talking about
They're gonna rebound to the national championship potentially.
just say run it back.
I don't know if they're gonna run it back though. We'll get to
They're
that.
not running it back.
We'll get to that.
Tell you that for free.
Tell you that for free.
So that's our predictions for the rankings of all the Power 5 and some Group 5 teams. Now, we're going to move to another prediction, the Heisman Trophy winner with the runner-ups.
With the runner-ups.
For my Heisman Trophy winner for the first time in Heisman history, back-to-back, Caleb Williams. It's really hard to believe that he's not going to win it this year.
I also have Caleb Williams winning. Gavin's cousin.
Yep.
Long-lost cousin. I mean, right now, if you don't have him as the number 1 QB in the country,
You're crazy.
what's going on?
You're crazy.
He's incredible. I mean, he is, I hate to say it, Mahomes-like. He makes incredible throws. I mean, throws that most people in the world cannot make. He could definitely start an NFL team this year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's looking to be the number 1 pick in next year's draft.
Speaking of that, too, losing and not being able to play in the college football playoff, that he literally said in his Heisman speech, he said, at least you guys get to play in the championship game.
That's
Or
what
the
he wants to
playoff.
do.
That's what he wants to do. That's what he's going to do. And I saw an ESPN picture the other day on their Instagram page saying that he is compared to Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow. If you mix all those 3 guys, you spit out Caleb Williams. And I really can see it, especially last year with the things he did, picking a ball off the ground, just throwing it 45 yards for a touchdown. I mean, you don't see that every day in college.
He's an incredible talent. I mean, it's crazy because usually when a guy has a talent like that, I don't like him. But I legitimately love watching Caleb Williams play.
I love watching. And USC, I love watching USC.
Yeah, I mean, they're a fun school, especially when they're good. I mean, and them coming to the Big Ten next year, I'm glad he's going to be out of there because I do not want to play USC when he's there. So,
for the runner-ups, I have Blake Corum, who's the running back
my
from Michigan.
guy, Blake Corum.
He's really good. He's coming off an injury, and I think that's what's going to make him a dog, and he's going to fight for every single yard. And he's a little...
I think he'll be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft
Oh, yeah,
next year.
I think he will too.
Next year.
But he's a little short, but he's a scrappy guy
Oh, he gets yards.
who will fight for every single inch. If Bills fans think that Devin Singletary is a motor, watch this guy play. He's the real motor.
If I had to compare Blake Corum to somebody, it would probably be Saquon Barkley.
Hell on wheels.
The way that he runs, he just goes through people. Like, they literally have no choice but to get him out of bounds. Yeah, they have to get him out of bounds or else they're probably not going to take him down, which is just incredible. He keeps the feet moving. Everything you want in a running back, he's what teams need in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. Who do you have at your number 2 running up?
I have the quarterback of the Michigan Wolverines, J.J. McCarthy. I think he's going to really take a big step this year. The most underrated part of his game, I think, is his running ability, obviously.
Absolutely.
But I think his passing game is going to get a lot better this year. I mean, last year he had a few issues with his throw power. I mean, he wasn't always able to throw it downfield to Ronnie Bell, my guy, on the Niners this year. But I really think he's going to step up. I think he's probably been in the weight room. You know, he's going to be able to toss the ball maybe 60 yards this year, hopefully. I mean, that's just enough for our offense, I think. We don't really need anything crazy. We're not usually a team that's flashy and throws deep like the Big 12
You're a
teams.
run-heavy team.
Yeah, but, yeah, I mean, we're in the trenches. Blake Corum, I mean, definitely is going to hopefully be a Heisman finalist.
And speaking about Michigan, while we have Blake Corum in our conversation, they have the best running back duo in the entire nation, in my opinion, which is also going to help them be a top team in the country. Just like this other team, in my opinion, I think LSU is going to finish as a top. I think LSU is going to finish as a top team in this country as well, with Jane Daniels being my last runner-up. But he is going to be awesome.
Do you think it's a breakout year for Jaden Daniels?
Watching what he did against Alabama in that overtime game.
Yeah.
That I saw that and I'm like, yep, This guy's going to be special.
He's a guy.
And he's not a Joe Burrow.
No.
But he's going to be amazing.
I mean, I think this year is a year where he can really just settle into the conference. The next year, go for it. I mean, next year I think is his year where he could really make a push for the Heisman. It's definitely possible. My other runner-up, and this is kind of shocking, but based on his first game, I wasn't completely sold on him, but I think I am now. Sam Hartman, Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame, we haven't mentioned them because we didn't talk about the independents this year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, right now they're ranked 13th. I think they'll get up to, 7 or 8.
I think they'll finish.
Probably 8.
Yeah.
But I think they're definitely able to move up in the standings. They have a pretty tough schedule, as usual. I mean, they always do. But I think Sam Hartman is due for a really good year, especially what he was doing at Wake Forest. I mean, I think he's just going to build off of it. He seems like a great guy, too. You see what he did?
Yeah, I did.
Gave all his teammates headphones.
Yep.
And that was pretty cool with all of his NIL money.
Yeah.
That's what the NIL is all about.
Exactly.
I'm a NIL backer.
I am, too.
Most people are. And the NCAA is not. No, they're not.
But with that being said, now we're going to finish to our final season rankings, the top 7. I'm going to go quickly 7-1. 7 Ohio State, 6 Penn State, 5 Georgia, 4 LSU, 3 USC, 2 Michigan, and 1 Alabama. Coming back to the 1 spot.
Wow. So Alabama number 1?
Yep. So
okay.
We'll get into the college football playoff predictions, but Charlie, what's your top 7?
I got Ohio State at 7. I got Penn State at 6. So the Big Ten rounding out there.
Yep.
Alabama at 5. LSU at 4. Just because of that one game. That's all you need. One game. Push yourself over other teams. USC at number 3. I think they're going to have a really good bounce back year. Caleb Williams, Heisman Trophy winner. Prediction. Georgia at 2. Like I said before, I think they're going to rebound. Run it back. Number 1, the Michigan Wolverines. Like I said before, most complete team in college football this year, in my opinion. And I think they have all the tools to be the number 1 team in the country at the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. So
Can I make a prediction about the season?
Yes.
I don't think anybody finishes undefeated.
I agree.
I think Michigan loses one of their 2 games, but I think it's close enough to where it won't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I think they lose to Penn State maybe, but they lose by, 2 points, and everybody's like, oh, they lost on a last-second field goal. Like, they're still number 1.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be an undefeated.
No, I don't think so. I kind of hope there's not. I like everybody losing. I mean, I hope Michigan goes undefeated, but, if they don't, losing to Penn State would be completely acceptable for me. Saying a loss is acceptable is just weird, but, if I had to pick one, I mean, definitely don't want to lose to Ohio State, but
in the big house, too.
Especially in the big house. Yeah. But that being said, my college football playoff matchups I have here are number 1 Michigan versus number 4 LSU, and number 2 Georgia versus number 3 USC.
It's a really nice football playoff right there.
I mean, that would just be incredible.
Yeah.
That would be incredible.
My college football playoff, based on my final season rankings, would be number 1 Alabama versus number 4 LSU, which would be amazing. And number 2 Michigan versus number 3 USC, which would also be amazing. So in my first game, Alabama LSU, I have Alabama winning 34-31 with a game-winning field goal time expiring. Kick is good. Going to the national championship.
So it's probably going to be like their regular season game, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree. For Michigan LSU, I have Michigan winning 27-21. I know that college football games, there's usually 1 blowout out of the 3.
Yeah.
But I really don't see that this year. I really think every game's going to be close, and LSU's a really good football team, and I think they match up decently well against Michigan, especially with Jaden Daniels over there. They can definitely put up some points against a good Michigan defense.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's enough to beat them.
You know what I think is enough to beat them?
USC.
My number 3 USC.
Wow.
So
okay.
I think Michigan versus USC. I think USC will win. I think the score will be 38-24.
I have USC beating Georgia, actually.
Okay.
In the semifinal. I have them winning 26-23 in overtime. I'm going to say game-winning rushing touchdown in overtime from Caleb Williams.
Wow. That would be awesome.
Bold prediction. Mark it down right now. USC, the number 3 seed, versus Georgia, number 2, in overtime. Caleb Williams. Rushing touchdown to the right. To the right, specifically, in overtime to win 26-23.
I think Charlie got his, I think he got his hands on some scripts right here.
I might have my hands on some scripts, but we'll see. In the national championship, I would have Michigan versus USC.
And I would have Alabama versus USC.
Okay, so we both have USC, which is not what we both expected.
Yeah.
I have Michigan winning 31-27 for the first time since 97. Michigan is the national champions.
And I have USC winning the national championship under what I predicted as the Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams. The score would be 21-17. It'd be the first time since 1978, but everybody really knows they won in 2004.
2004, Reggie Bush. I mean, he was incredible that year. So the way that your predictions are set up, I think, is really interesting. You think that Caleb Williams is going to have like one of the greatest college football seasons ever, like up there with Joe Burrow, up there with
Vince Young and
Tim
Tebow. I think Caleb Williams, here's my hottest take. He will be the greatest college football quarterback ever to step on the field. After this year, he will have the best single-season college football quarterback career ever.
Yeah.
By a single season. I mean,
it's definitely possible. He's definitely the right guy to do it if anybody were to do it, but he's an incredible quarterback.
Take, though.
Yeah. I mean, all of this is hot takes. I mean, we're pretty amateur at this right now, but I mean, this is just what we think, and these are our predictions. I mean, it's going to be a really good college football season. Yeah,
I'm really excited, but you know what's also exciting?
What?
NFL's coming right around the corner.
NFL is coming right around the corner. We have right now we have planned we're going to do one NFL episode a week.
Yep.
So we're going to do our the first one's going to be predictions, and then the outlook on the year, all that. Week 2, right before week 2, so in between week 1 and week 2, we're going to recap our game 1 predictions, and then look ahead to week 2, predict those games.
Every week,
and we're gonna
do this.
We're gonna keep a tally. We're gonna post them on our Instagram
at Out of Bounds Podcast, and there's a dot between every single word.
Yes, there is. That's good to say again. Good to say again.
Feels great. Well, I think that's about wraps it up today. Get ready for the NFL season because once a week episode, it's gonna be exciting. We're gonna have a head-to-head record.
Yep.
And we're going to tally the wins, tally losses, and I think that's going to get really competitive, even though we're just predicting games.
And, we want to know who you guys think is going to, do better at not only the college football predictions, but the NFL predictions. So when those come out, maybe drop a comment in our Instagram post and say who you think is going to have the better predictions.
Yeah, or drop a comment being straightforward, just with some ideas that you guys want to see for this season.
You can tell us that we're wrong.
Yeah.
We encourage it.
Yeah, we like the constructive criticism.
We do.
We like any feedback, especially we get a ton of feedback from one of our co-owners.
My dad, Frank O'Leary.
Frank the Tank.
And Gavin's dad.
CEO.
Yeah.
Scotty.
I mean, they're in the front office.
Yep, they're in the front office.
Out of Bounds podcast. So thank you to them. And thank you to all you guys for listening.
Yeah. Make it a joy to get on here and talk about sports.
Yeah, it's a good time.
But thank you guys for listening. We hope to see you on the next one, and have a great day.
Have a great day.